to help the poor out of your own accord.
Again,
But
that's
why- it
moral.
doesn't
That's
benefit me in
moral
any way. Why
compass.
should I help the poor?
It doesn't have to,
It doesn't-
and that's the point. It's not for it to benefit
What?
you. It's
Then
for
why
it
am
to
I
benefit
doing it?
others.
I don't care about others. I care
And that
about
is
me and
why,
mine.
and that is why there is the law, because you don't care about others.
No. Okay, ladies and gents. So this week's big question is based around riches and poverty. Should the rich be obligated to look after the poor? Well, we're gonna dive right into that. But first, a quick visit to last week.
Completely
Because,
forgot
of
about
course,
this.
I didn't.
Last
You
week,
didn't.
we had a whole discussion that formed last week's poll, which of course I'm going to tell you the results today. So, who remembers what last week's poll question was?
Should your friends find your man attractive or
Your
your
partner
partner
attractive.
attractive?
Yeah, should your friends find your partner attractive? So, I'm not going to revise everyone else. Revision. I'm not going to
Revisit the points.
I'm not going to revisit everyone else's position. If you want to find out what we had to say about that question,
Go watch the last episode.
Yeah, what he said. Check out last week's episode, right? But should your friends find your partner attractive? We discussed. We put it out to our community, to our,
And the community
to our
spoke.
society, and they spoke. And so they were given three options: yes, no,
It's not
and
that
maybe.
complicated.
or
It's complicated.
it's complicated, or it's not that simple. So I can reveal that the majority, with 55%,
Wow, that close.
chose no.
Hmm.
No. Apparently, you guys think your friends should not find your partner attractive.
Yeah,
The
because
next-
they don't want their friends
next
running off with
biggest
their
group-
man.
The next biggest group,
Was
of course,
the maybe.
was it's
It's
not.
complicated.
Yeah, it's complicated. It's not that simple. There may be pile, and yeah, the smallest group were the yeses.
Is that just you?
No, I'm surprised that there were a couple that shared my mind frame, but it was a it was a handful. It was a big loss for people in my position, and it's fine. You know what? I'll take it. Okay, you lot think your friends should not find your partner attractive. Mark my words. Mark my
Why
words.
are you out here sounding like Joker threatening people?
Mark
now?
my words, right? Very soon in the future, something will come out.
I thought he was going
by
to say
all
very,
this-
very later. I was like, wow, it's not that deep.
Very soon in the
Slow
future,
down.
something will come out by all these brain box scientists that say exactly what I'm saying. And at that point, you guys will not hear the end of me. But thank you very much to everybody that voted to our poll. Thank you very much to everyone that tuned in last week. We appreciate your support. We appreciate your involvement. We appreciate your comments. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So then, on to this week's question. Should the rich be obligated to look after the poor? So let me give you a little bit of background. So Oxfam recently published
Oxfam.
Okay.
Oxfam recently published I don't know if it was a study research or they had seen it somewhere else, but I saw it from Oxfam, saying that in the last 3 years, since the pandemic, since the living crisis, since everything that's been happening, almost 3/3 of the world's riches has gone towards the richest people, the billionaires and stuff of the world. While at the same time, obviously,
Did you say wow or while?
While.
You need to speak clearer.
He did say wow.
You said wow,
He
didn't you?
said wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
Whilst
Thank you.
as poor people, we've got poorer. Obviously, energy has gone up, food has gone up, transport has gone up, everything has gone up, right? And they're having a discussion around that, which of course led me to think and brought our big question for today. So, Offbeat POV: should the rich be obliged to look after the poor? What do we think? I'm gonna start. Yeah, I'm gonna cast the net first, and then we'll see. What do you think? Ooh.
Obliged, no.
Okay.
If I feel like I'm repeating
Why
last
is
week.
obliged? No, what does
Because obliged
mean?
is you have to. You're being told you have to.
Yes. Yeah. That's the question.
So obliged, no. I don't think the rich should be obliged to look after the poor. Should it be encouraged? Yes, but I don't think it's an obligation.
Okay. Problem.
Yeah, I think they should. I think they should be obliged to help the poor.
Mm.
Now, again, I'm gonna explain further as the discussion goes. But why I'm saying yes, they have to be obliged is because, um, again, this is gonna sound like a very bad example, but there are certain things that, as mankind, we know not to do. For example, yeah, there are certain common knows and don'ts, right? But even in the knows and don'ts, you still get people because of, let's say, I don't know, their moral compass being a bit out of whack, whatever. What is norm in the in the society doesn't come across to them as a norm. So we have laws in place, we have certain policies in place that tells everybody this is what we're expecting, right? Now, unfortunately, not every rich person, or everybody with money or not or whatever, is gonna feel they need to help, right? It's gonna feel pushed to help. Are they gonna be wrong for that? Technically, not. But where does that get us? In my opinion, like what you're saying, the rich will get richer and the poor will get poorer. Eventually, we'll start seeing the poorer die and things like that. Is that the world that I want to see? No. So if there's a solution that can allow the world, the society as a whole to thrive, I would say we need to implement that solution. So yeah, they need to be obliged to help the poor, regardless of their moral compass.
But if I work hard for my money, because I think that's the other aspect, we've got to, obviously there's people that inherit their money, fair enough, but for people that have worked hard for their money to make their money, why does my hard work therefore put me in a position where I have to help other people?
Again,
I've worked.
So before you come in, so you said obviously that people that have inherited their money, fair enough, but why is inherited wealth different to gained wealth?
It's not different, but obviously I was making a point about how, because somebody would say, oh yeah, but there's people that have inherited their money. If I just make my point and don't address that, there's that category of people.
Okay, so in your rationale, in your reasoning,
Even people that
there's no difference
even
between
people
gained
that,
wealth and
and even people that have
inherited
inherited their
wealth.
money, somebody has worked hard for that money.
Mm.
Might not be you directly, somebody has worked hard for that money. Maybe because somebody else has worked hard for it, maybe you should be in a position to be like, I didn't make this money myself, I should also help somebody with it. Somebody can argue that. But I think I was listening to something, I can't tell you where, when, where, what, but the person was saying that sometimes people, and listen, it's Offbeat POV, we say what we mean and we mean what we say. Sometimes people stay poor because of their actions and what they do. And some people get rich because of how hard their actions and what they do. So I think it's unfair to expect somebody who's working really, really, really hard to get to where they are, to make the money that they're making, to expect that person to then now be carrying somebody who's poor because they just choose to not do anything for themselves, full stop. It's obviously, again, there's a caveat that there's people like Pronic already said, there are people who are poor because that's just the hand life has dealt them. There isn't really much they can do to pull themselves up without the support of other people. There are those people, but overall, people work hard for their money. People work hard for their wealth. We all go to work to make our money. But there's people that will choose not to work, and then they expect other people to fund their lifestyles, or other people to pull them along, essentially. And even biblically, there isn't a verse that says the rich should help the poor, or at least when I looked, not one that explicitly says that. There is an encouragement of generosity, and I think that goes all out. Be generous to the poor because you're lending to the Lord. This is irrespective of whether you are the richest person or a mediocre person. The Bible talks about generosity, that coming from the heart. It's not saying somebody write a law to make sure that people give to the rich give to the poor. No,
fine.
It's a decision of the heart. You know what? I've got all this money. I'm blessed. I'm rich. I'm going to help the poor because I want to lend to the Lord.
Okay, fine. So I want to hear one of the reasons Pronic thinks that it should be obligated to give to the poor. But before so, let's take a few steps back. And I want to discuss first, how do we define poor? So if we're talking about giving to the poor, the rich giving to the poor, or the rich not giving to the poor, how are we defining that poor?
Do we need to define it?
Well, yes, because who is getting the, oh yeah, how are we defining the poor and how are we defining the rich? Because who is giving to who is I guess the where I'm driving to for starters. Because it's well good saying, okay, yeah, the rich have to give to the poor, but who's giving to who?
Because in comparison to Jeff Bezos, I'm poor.
If I'm earning 100,000 pounds a year, does that make me rich? But then compared to someone who's earning 50 million a year, am I still considered rich? Or so yeah, how do we define rich and poor?
That's a good question.
I really don't know, to be honest with you, how we want to go about it. I guess we could, for example, look at income earnings, right? Like monthly income or annual income. You could determine, you could choose to say that anybody earning below, let's say, £35,000 a month, if it's in the UK, we're gonna classify you people as poor, for example. Yeah, that can take into
I mean rich.
Poor. Anyone earning below 35,000 per month, per year.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, we can choose to say that we're gonna class that group of people as poor, right? Now that can be because we've taken into account, let's say, living expenses and this and that, rent and whatnot, and then we've decided, okay, fine, if you've paid all your bills and you have, let's say, 1,500 left after you've paid all your bills and stuff like that, versus someone who's paid all their bills and they've got, I don't know, let's say £6,000 in the account, because of that difference, we can say that actually this one is poor. Yeah. Now, the reason I'm saying that we can do that if we want, I think wherever you are in the world, there's always the language of the rich and the poor exists, right? And I think it can vary. So I think in my opinion, I think we can have this conversation without having to look at that nuance. We can actually have a general conversation between the rich versus the poor without having to go into that particular nuance, because I think that could vary depending on what part of the world that you're in.
Could I try answer the question?
Go on.
So I've really thought about this question because, I sat here and I thought, that's a very good, deep question. And I think in my pondering, it's not something I thought about.
In the 30 seconds he was talking.
Yeah.
I've really thought about this question.
I think
out of body experience.
I would define the rich and the poor as, and I think the definition would be what is the poor. I don't think it's necessarily a discussion of who are the rich. I think I would say somebody that's less fortunate than yourself and is struggling, and you have something that could help them.
Again,
because I'm thinking. So let me give an example. Let me give an example. As Westerners, sometimes we want to go to third world, what we've termed third world countries, tribes, and all this, and we want to donate to them because they are the poor. But take that little community itself. Even within those communities, they have the rich and they have the poor within those communities. So even though they might be a community that don't wear clothes, don't do this, there is a family people look up to and say, yes, they have everything.
They're well off.
But then me coming into that tribe, into that community, I'm looking at that well-off person in this community and saying, hey, you're high, but they're poor.
And that's why...
And I think we also give people a definition of poor based on what we class as luxuries, because a lot of the times, you watch documentaries, and actually, before you went to those tribes, those countries, they're more than happy. They're perfectly fine living the way that they live. They're content. They don't class themselves as poor. They don't class themselves as rich. What they have is what they have, and that's that. They're happy. We're the ones that go in and say, oh, they don't have a TV, they don't have this, they don't have this. Therefore, they are poor.
Okay, so I mean, from what you've said, then it sort of supports what Pronik was saying about how it varies from society to society. So what you're saying is it's hard to pinpoint what rich and poor is, because depending on what society you're in, that sliding scale could vary.
But I think by human standard, I think as humans, there's basics that every human needs. Every human needs food. Every human needs water. That would be my basic standard.
Shelter.
And food, water, and shelter. Those three would be my basic standards. So if somebody doesn't have one or more of those things, then yes, I would say they're poor.
Okay, so many questions, but I want to go back to Pronik. So you're saying the rich should be obliged to give to the poor, and Fatsani explained that, well, listen, we all work hard for our money. Why should I have to be obliged or burdened to help someone less off? Yeah, when they should just work harder and get more money.
Yes, I did. Now, the thing is that, like I said, there's a lot of things that have been said. First, and I said a lot of things. If we're talking about, let's say, people that are lazy, people that don't want to do anything, I think these are nuances that can be looked into if we go a few steps deeper into the discussion, right? Into the field. Then we can look at what's going on, so on and so forth. But the questions, if we're approaching the question the way it is, should the rich on the right-hand side help the poor on the left-hand side? Again, we can decide, okay, what's the poor, what's this? But we know in every society, there's a rich and there's a poor.
Yeah,
that's why the question exists, right?
Established.
So even the Bible says, just before you move me along, the Bible says, help the poor amongst you, you know? So the reason why I think strongly believe that the rich should be obliged to help the poor is, if you look at the human history, for example, society is built on the backs of strong people, right? It's built with the strong at the front. That's why coming from day one, we talk about a patriarchy society, for example, is because, okay, if we were in the jungle, living in the jungle, right? We need to eat. We need water. We need shelter, for example, right? Who's going to go hunting? You're not going to take your little daughter, who is 7 years old. You're a woman who is weak. So, okay, you go hunting. It's going to be the strong men that you have that are going to go hunting, right? It's going to be the strong amongst you. It may not be men necessarily, but it's always the strong amongst the society that build and develop the society, right? Everybody should have their part to play. Everyone has got their part to play. But the ones that are weak in society are carried by the strong. That's how it's just how it's always been. And for me, I believe that with every society to thrive, it's going to be the case. Now, I don't support lazyism, if that's even a word, right? But then what I'm trying to say is this. It's not looking at the rich people and punishing them. That's not my point. Yeah, I'm not saying that, okay, we need to punish the rich, they are too rich, or look at all these luxuries they're enjoying. No, that's not my point. They've worked for their money. If they want to go on holidays and non-stop, let them do that. If they want to spend their money, that's fine. If they want to have jets, mansions, I have no problem with that. But if we're discussing a question of, okay, should they help the less needy in the society, the poor in the society? My answer is going to be yes, they should.
But you still haven't said why. Why should they? That's what I want to understand.
Why should they be obliged?
Yes, you're saying yes, they should, because according to your argument, the rich will carry the poor, and that's how. I get that. But then my question is, why should they be obliged to? That's the heart of the question. Yeah, why should they?
They should feel obliged to help because for whatever reason, they are the ones that have been put in, or not for whatever reason, but they have worked hard to achieve certain levels that enables them to help the rest. You see, again, from a Christian point of view, okay, if you had asked me, what society would I want to build? Pronik, you are the president of the world. What do you want the society to look like? I want a world where nobody is lacking. I want a world where everybody is thriving. Everybody is eating. Everybody is living, like what she said, above a basic human needs. Now, that in order to achieve that, it's gonna need or require those in the society that have worked their asses off and have gotten over that mark, of that rich mark. The people that I know that if they take maybe even 50 million to help the need, that's not gonna impact them financially.
Okay, so
but don't you?
What you're saying is right. And I like the words you've used, right? We're looking at people who've worked their asses off to attain a certain level of wealth and riches. And if they take even 50 million of their money and give to the poor, their lives themselves, they'll still be considered rich. Their life will carry on, right? But then that person could turn around and say, why do I have to take 50 million of my hard-earned money and give it to the poor? Because I have worked hard for it. I've had to strive for it. I've gained it. It's mine. Why should I give it to the poor?
Because unfortunately, again, tying it back to Christendom believers, you have no choice but to help. That's just how life should be, in my opinion. Yeah.
But then don't you think that level of obligation leaves the poor very vulnerable? For example, look at rich countries and how the third world is treated. They give them small aid, and all of a sudden is, well, now you got to change your laws.
Well, again, I think that's a nuance. Like,
it's not
do you
really a
mean
nuance.
by vulnerabilities? Like,
Because
expand a bit
then
further.
the rich then would feel, if they're obligated to help the poor, they're gonna feel entitled to get something back from the poor. So if I have to help you, you need to do something back for me. I think obligation leaves the poor in a very vulnerable state. Like the example I gave,
obligation
when
also leaves people not to help when they can help.
Okay, so if I understand your whole argument, Prony, your whole argument is not based on for like this is just wording, yeah, this is not attack. It's not based on solid reasonings, but more based on morality.
Yes,
you're rich. It is therefore your duty to help the poor.
Yes.
So in essence, you're appealing to rich people's better nature.
Yes.
But then besides that, I guess, okay, besides you're rich, it is your duty. It is
your moral.
I'm appealing to your humanity to help the poor. If we remove that, is there any other reason that the rich should be given to the poor?
I would say no. And I would say for me, that's plenty enough reason, right?
For you, because that's your moral compass, but someone else doesn't have to share your moral compass.
That's why I'm saying that obligated, right? Because I agree with you.
No, but
they don't have.
Are we going to obligate people based on someone else's moral compass?
You've asked me this question.
No.
Whose moral compass do you want me to answer this based on?
I'm asking you.
He's asking a further question.
You that are we to make laws based on people's moral compass?
Okay, so in that case, this is what we do. Let's get think tanks in the same room. Let's get 30, 50 people. Let's get representatives from let's deal with the UK for now. Let's get representatives from all walks of life. Let's have a conversation. I guess that's what the House of Parliament is there for. Let's discuss, if we were to do this, would this be good for the community? If the answer is yes, then let's implement it. So if I was a dictator, then yes, I would say you're going to base it on me. And by the way, this is how God operates. Right? This is why God doesn't have people he's asking. God does what God wants to do. So if I was God, then yes, you are going to operate based on my moral compass. Okay, but I am not God.
Exactly.
Right? So this is my opinion. And that's why it's my opinion. And that's why it's my opinion, because I think that would be a nicer world living in there if people that are well off were to look after the weak. That's why I started with that. For example, if let's say 90% of the soldiers, again, just sticking to UK, but you can expand this, right? If 90% of the people in the army right now are men, right? They don't have to do that, right? They don't have to take off those jobs. But if let's say they quit and let's say the army shrank, war is looming, what is the government going to do? What are we as the people going to want? What are the women going to want? We are going to appeal to men, please go fight for us. Please pick up arms. And we see this all the time, again, using movies. Please pick up arms. Please go defend us, because they can't do it themselves. They're not able to do it themselves. You see?
Okay, go on.
So the point is, before you say you're lost, the point or confused, the point is, if we are talking about money, the weak are the strong in my comparison. The rich are the strong in my comparison.
Now I'm lost.
The poor are the weak.
Okay.
Right? In that comparison.
You made that clear.
Exactly. So, in my opinion, according to my moral compass, according to the Bible, biblically, remember as well in the Bible, it actually shows that one, like what Fason was saying, help the poor amongst you. Yeah, that's what it's gone out. Now, of course, it doesn't dictate that, if you are this, you're poor, but the message is going there, help the poor. So, if let's say the world was we're operating under a theocracy, I think that's what it's called, and we're a Christian world, then the message is going to every rich person, help the poor. There would be no need of a law put into place. If everybody is abiding to that, we have a world 100%. That I want.
100%.
You see? But we don't have that, right? So if the discussion is, should they be obligated? And if I'm saying yes, and you ask me how are you going to do that, and say, let's put it into law, that's how you get that.
No. So my question wasn't how, because the whole point of this question was to find out, besides it is your duty to do so, is there any other reason
why
for us to pertain for rich people to help the poor?
I would say
so.
For
example,
reason.
No. So let me give you one. Right? So someone could argue that if okay, I guess one of the arguments is that most people got rich because of the work of the poor people, right? So or whether you're running a business or you've got a service or whatever, even the iPhone, people in China, poor people in China are making it, right? So the argument is that poor people, rich people are rich because of the
poor
work
people.
of those who are below them, the poor people. Therefore, because the poor people are the ones that are working hard to generate your wealth. Yes, it's your idea. Yes, it's your system. Yes, it's your brainchild, whatever. But it's the poor people that have brought you that wealth.
I saw this
as
clip
a result
once.
of that,
You
it
need to
only
give
makes sense
back.
to give back, so that as a result, the society is happier as a whole because the poor are not as poor anymore. They have basic necessities. They're happier. They're able to work more. They're happier. They're happy going to work and whatever. Therefore, we create a better society where people are happy. They don't lack anything, and as a result, they're happy to continue working for the rich. So you can actually make an argument to say, yo, rich person, if you help poor people, they could actually make you richer.
I mean, he may not to be richer than he already is because he's made it. Okay,
Besides the point.
that's fair enough. But then that for me takes away the sweat, risks, and hard work that rich person also had to put in to get there. You make it seem like that if it was not for these white people, he may not have gotten where he is.
White people? Freudian sleep.
Trauma.
Really and truly.
What are you talking
Really
about?
and truly. Aibo, if I've never seen a Freudian sleep in this life, yeah? He didn't say that sitting next to me. He did not say that sitting next to me. I'm not.
Jeez. Anyway, okay, fine. What were you saying?
Yeah, no, sorry. Slip of the tongue.
Heal your heart.
If it was not for the poor people.
Yeah, because I agree with what you say. And if someone made that argument, that's a fair enough argument to make. But I'll add the nuance that first and add at the beginning. And you know this as much as I do, that oftentimes these people that have gotten to where they are because of, for example, business-wise, the amount of sacrifices that they've had to do on their part as well is immense. Usually it's life or death. Usually it's, you know what, this is all I have. I'm going to put this money into this. It can either work or fail. If it fails, I'm going broke, hungry, in debt for who knows how many amount of years. That means my family as well are out on the streets. Everybody's taking their equal risks into what they need to do. Yeah. So I don't want to punish someone for that. Okay.
Wait, who's punishing?
No one is punishing, but then I don't want you to sit there and say that, oh, you rich people, you're rich because of the poor. It's a system that helped everybody.
Yeah.
It's a system that
But
that
did it help
ensured...
everybody if people are still
No.
poor?
Of course.
So my argument of saying they're rich because of the poor, that wasn't in a shouting way or judgmental way.
It was
to say
in
you're
a...
rich because of it was a matter of you're rich because of your workers, basically. You're
Yes.
rich because of your workers.
I picked that
Look
up,
after
yes.
your workers and the business everyone will be happier, therefore you get richer.
I picked that up, yes. And that's what I'm saying, that I'm okay with that, because you're going into, for example, increasing, let's say, minimum wage, for example, or paying your workers a lot more than maybe what they might receive in. For me, that goes, I'm not against that. For me, it goes into how do these rich people help the poor. So for me, that's that's a solution, actually, not a reason, for example.
No,
I mean,
the reason is if you look after the poor. I'm saying the poor, but in this case, because I'm taking an example of one company, but it's a general principle that's applied to whole society. If you look after the poor, yeah, they will continue to work for you even harder. Therefore, you get money. So why should you look after the poor? Because you're gonna get richer. Is the reason. Obviously, there's a whole system that went around that. And the reason is, why should you look after the poor? Because in doing so, you're going to get richer.
Fair enough.
I think while you're still here, guys, just want to say a massive thank you for staying and for listening. Please like and subscribe, and we hope you're enjoying the conversation. Please put your thoughts in the comments because we would love to hear your views.
So what do you guys think of this argument then? To say that another argument that the rich should be obliged to give to the poor. So apparently, a lot of research suggests that IQ is predetermined. It's genetics. Yes, environmental factors come into play, but it's largely predetermined. The argument is some people are predisposed to success more than others. Therefore, again, argument, it is not necessarily the poor people's fault that they're poor, and it is not necessarily your fault that you're rich. Therefore, give to the poor because
So what
because
does
it's not their
what does this
fault.
what does this predisposition look like? So let me give you an example. I was going to say, let me give you an example.
An example with the question or your answer to the
an
question?
example, for example, and because I want to understand what this predisposition looks like. So my mum was born into a very, very poor family of like 13 children. Yeah. So all are living the same situation. But she decided at a young age, this is not going to be my future. I'm going to concentrate on education to move me forward, which she did. And I can confidently say that as far as wealth goes, she's in a much better position than her siblings that didn't have the same mentality as her of saying, I don't want to be in this position. But situations and circumstances were completely 100% the same. Opportunities were completely 100% the same.
No.
So what are the predispositions?
Okay.
Like in a scenario like that, what are the predispositions? Is it her mindset? Because even that mindset, all the kids had the same upbringing, the same access to the same level of education. So what this mindset, where would it have been predisposed from? I guess that's my question.
Okay. Can I ask you a question to answer that? Yeah. I think I would somewhat agree with that statement, but I'm going to explain myself further too, so that I'm not misunderstood, right? But before that, I want to ask, right? Right now, your mom is in this country, in this country, right? How many of the siblings are also here?
None.
Okay. So I know the story. We're not going to go through the story, right? But one can argue if your mom had never met your dad, or rather, no, that's not what I want to say. I want to say that if she had remained, let's say, in Malawi, do you again? There's no right or wrong answer to this thing. But in your opinion, if she had stayed in the same country, do you think she would have still had the same, let's say, level of success, if I can put it like that she has today?
So even in Malawi, she already stood out among her siblings.
Okay, fine. So the answer is yes to that.
Yeah,
okay,
so
fine.
already
Fair
by
enough.
the time she was deciding to come here, she was already ahead of the pack when it comes to the family.
Fair
She was the
enough.
one that broke away from the pack.
From the usual
moving
pattern.
to the UK, okay, you can say it widened that gap a lot more, but that gap was already there even before
she moved. That answers my question. That is fair enough. Yeah. Now, I would agree with that statement, with that mentality, but with a lot of nuances, right?
Yeah, you and these nuances.
The first,
You know, when a toddler learns a new word.
the first complication. I'm gonna leave the word. No, you can't use a new word. People are gonna start pointing. It's like you develop. Oh, look, you develop now. You can't win with you guys.
It's your fault for going back.
It's the oppression. The rich taught you a new word, and now they don't want you to use it because it's their word.
So with a lot of complications, and the thing is that if we talk about, again, we are biblical scholars here, not scholars, but you know, we've been blessed enough to know quite a lot of stuff in the Bible, and we know that if God has appointed you for a certain thing, yeah, you're gonna make it to that certain thing. Right? Preordained, predestined, you know, or that kind of life, you know, is a thing. However, I don't know what God has planned for me. Right? I don't know how far God wants me to reach. Right? I don't know to what great heights I'm gonna reach. Right? So I cannot sit here and look at a rich person and fault them for being rich and say that help me as a poor. Nor can I use that mentality and say, okay, maybe I wasn't chosen to be one of them people, and then be lazy, slack, sit around and do nothing. Yeah, I don't subscribe to that mentality as well. I think as a person, each and every one of us, let's strive to get to the top, right? But in my opinion, unfortunately, not everybody can be Elon Musk. Right? Not everybody can be Jeff or whoever, whatever. You know, not everybody can. Unfortunately, it's just the way the world is. Not even I believe there are some great actors out there, maybe that never broke out because of maybe where they were born or whatever. They are still living a good life, or they're trying their best, but maybe because they were not born in this country, the circumstances around them never allowed them to break through so that they can be acting, you know, Wakanda and all this. I don't believe that the talent that we see in the present day, social media, I don't think that's the best of the best. I think those are the ones that were fortunate enough with the right circumstances, with a lot of hard work that allowed them to break through to make it, right? So if with that, I would say I agree, I subscribe to that mentality, but it's not an excuse to be lazy, So, and for me, it's actually a responsibility thing. If when I make it to the top, I've worked hard to get it to the top. And because I'm at the top now, what's my next thing to do? What's my responsibility as a human being? Help the ones at the bottom of the food chain.
Okay, so okay, fine. I have no problem with what you've said, but then
technically,
okay, fine. So basically, you don't agree with the statement.
I do.
No, because what you're saying is everybody should be working hard to get to the top. So if everybody,
but not everyone is gonna make it to the top.
Yeah, but they should be working hard to get to the top.
Yes,
so if
but not everyone is gonna make it to the top.
No, but I mean, that's assuming that being rich means you're at the top. Because we're talking about rich and poor. We're not talking about stars and losers.
Yes, even but that. Not everybody who is working hard is gonna have that breakthrough to be called rich by whatever category. So unfortunately, it's just the way the world is.
So everyone should be working harder to get to the top, or rather, everyone should be working hard to get rich. But then those that are already rich should be helping the ones who are working to get rich. Is what you're saying?
Should be helping the ones at the bottom of the food chain. Yes.
What do you understand?
But if we look at the way this society is built, as in where we live, the UK, aren't we already obliged to help the poor?
Well,
I like that point. Can I add to that?
In what you terms of tax?
Yeah, taxes and stuff, because that money.
Oh, is that what you meant?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
It pays for a lot of things, doesn't it? And not just for ourselves. So, our tax goes to the NHS. Everybody can access that for free. Yeah. Whether you're the poor, whether you're the rich, somebody has put money in the pot for everybody to have that access. Yeah. People that don't work and for various reasons are claiming benefits. That's money that's coming from the rich and being disseminated throughout society to various categories of people.
But the argument is the richer should be given a lot more than they're given in order to help the poorer.
Yeah.
So since you brought tax in, then so is what would you say about that? Should the richer be taxed a lot more than
what, for the sake of helping the poor?
For the sake of helping those at the bottom of the food chain, as Pronik put it.
Yes.
No, because again, I can't remember. I think we were listening to it together, so I think you can help me as to where people can find this. Something that we were listening to was talking about as a society, we love this notion of fairness. We want things to be fair. The rich should be taxed more because it is fair. They have more to be taxed, therefore tax them more. But no, they've worked hard for their money. So tax them, not the same, it may be a tiny bit more, but the aim shouldn't be, because you're rich, therefore we're going to collect 50%, we're going to collect 60%. No, they worked hard for that money. Just it might seem fair to you, but it's not fair for them. You've broke your back for so many years to be in the position that you're in, and somebody wants to say the only fair thing to do is to tax you more. No.
I thought we were on the same page. I was at the beginning. The second part, I strongly disagree with. And
why?
The notion of fairness?
Yes, and for me, this is the problem. I think my argument is simple.
No, tell me. Are you gonna tell me why? Focus on answering why you think.
Yeah. I'm gonna focus on that. I disagree with that because, like I keep saying, that if you have more, the responsibility for you should be there for you to help more as well.
Okay,
but that's already there. That's already there.
I think I even repeated your point back to you because your whole point is based on appealing to the better nature of human. But if I win £1 million tomorrow and I think I just want this for myself, I want to focus on myself, I don't want to think of anybody else. Yeah. The question is, should there be something in place to obligate me to look after the poorer?
Yes, and my answer is yes, there should be.
If there is
because
nothing,
you don't have it in you to help the poor out of your own accord.
Again,
But
that's
why- it
moral.
doesn't benefit
That's
me in
moral
any way.
compass.
Why should I help the poor?
It doesn't have to,
It doesn't-
and that's the point. It's not for it to benefit
What?
you. It's
Then
for it
why
to
am I
benefit
doing it?
others.
I don't care about others. I care
And that
about
is
me
why,
and
and
mine.
that is why there is the law, because you don't care about others.
No,
But
I
why should I care about others?
Okay, and that's the thing. Yeah, and that's the thing. The thing is
When
that
I've worked hard, why should I care about others?
the thing is that you cannot stand up in front of God and make that statement. Already,
No.
you are out. No, hold on.
If we're talking, if we're talking about Christianity, I think it's a non-starter. I think if
That
there's
point's
any,
been
if
made,
there's
it's
any
clear.
Christian out there arguing that I have no obligation to give to the poor, that's a completely different discussion. So because remember,
so
we're
now
talking about the state of the
I'm
world.
taking that
We're talking about the
mentality.
state of the world
Yes.
as it is.
So now I'm taking that mentality and throwing it to the world. Now, unfortunately, the world is not gonna have that mentality by itself, because they don't operate by the same laws that, let's say, a Christian
Yes.
does.
So what argument are you
do
telling the world
So what do
as to
we
why
do?
they should give to
so
the poor?
what do we do? Yeah, in order to do that, I know that giving to the poor is the best thing that can happen for the society.
You
right?
believe so?
I believe so. I know so. I believe so.
You
I might be,
believe
you might disagree, but I know so.
Yeah.
Right. However, you are right. I can't go to Derek there and force and make him understand that. But what I can do, just like, okay, again, as a Christian, you know, you can't take a life. Yeah, the world out there operates differently. So how do we ensure that people are not out there killing each other? There's a law in place: no murder. If you murder somebody, we're gonna put you up in prison. Yeah, we know that there are certain things, a lot of things that are in place that people partake. Let's say, for example, drugs. We know drugs are bad for you. Again, in a perfect world, nobody's taking drugs.
I mean, we take
Yeah.
drugs every single day. It's not.
I didn't say it. You said it.
No.
No. Okay, fine. I mean the illegal drugs. I mean the
Even
illegal
those illegal
drugs.
drugs
The
are
class
in the
A's.
illegal drugs.
Yes, okay, fine. But we know it is against the law for me to smoke
Exactly.
to take
Say
cocaine.
that. Yes,
Yeah?
it's against the law.
Exactly. Now, why is it against the law? Because these substances are not safe. The ones you're talking about have been legalized, they've been looked at, they're meant to help. That's their intended purpose.
Okay.
Right?
Yes. That's a different discussion. Carry on.
I know it is a different discussion.
Carry
yeah.
on, yes.
So, but if you remove those laws, what you have is a whole lot of people doing a lot of stuff that they shouldn't, that are not good for them, but they still do them. So, how do you control people that are doing things that are not good for them? You put it into law. You make it a law. So that
You-
they
you
can-
block
Can I tell you why it's different? No, before you
hold
carry
on.
on.
It's
Can I
the
tell
same
you-
thing.
No,
It's the
I'll
same
give you an
thing.
opportunity
It's just
to.
hold on. It's the same thing. It's just on the other side
No.
now.
Let me
where
tell you
it's
why
a
it's
good
not. And then
thing.
I'll give you I'll
Go
give
on.
you a reason
Go on.
to address it. Yeah, because the whole point of the drugs is a good one. Because yes, people want to partake in these drugs. I don't think people do, but let's say a lot more would if they weren't illegal, right? We've made them illegal, saying no, don't take these drugs because they are bad for you. They will kill you. So why are they illegal? Why are we saying don't take the drugs? Reason, because they're bad for you, they will kill you. Yeah, that's the reason. So, and that's not a moral reason. That's not us appealing to their better nature. Oh, you be healthy. No, they will kill you.
It actually
That's
is,
a con- no,
in
no.
a way. It's same as gambling. You know that's health.
No, but gambling is not illegal. That's why it's not illegal.
That is true. Strike that from the record.
No, but that's what maybe this is not illegal because there is a clear consequence, direct consequence. They will kill you. Yeah.
But wouldn't one argue
So the
that
po-
let people, if people want to partake in that and then they end up die, it's their lives. Why are you getting involved?
That's why they do. That's why they let them.
So
Then just
why
say-
is
but
the
then just
government
say- but
making it
then-
illegal in the first
But then
place?
you can say, if
because-
people don't
because they
help
want
the
to-
poor, let them. It's their lives.
Yeah, of course, and that's why it is right now. So the argument we are having is, should they be obligated? And you're saying that, okay, I'm losing quite a bit.
No,
yeah?
no, it's fine. Yeah, go on. Yeah,
Yeah,
finish
so
your point. and then
I'm just
have
making
one more thing, and then
I'm
move on.
making a comparison on what should be, for example, for lack of a better term, common sense, but isn't, and has been put into law to deter people from doing it. Yeah. Now, it's easy for me to talk about alcohol, drugs, let's say rape, for example, because these are bad things.
Hold on, how did you go from alcohol, drugs,
carry
and
on.
then
Because
rape?
these are bad things. Right?
Honestly.
So I'm taking the same thing, but then putting it in the positive side. Yeah. You don't want to help, but helping others is good
For who?
for the society.
But not me. But that's the difference between all the other examples you're giving. They're impacting me, the person that
It's
I want to
also
do the
good
things.
for you. You just
How?
don't know it.
If
Because
I
it's
can't
helping.
feel,
But
if
those
I
are
can't
the
feel
arguments that I want.
goodness,
If,
Okay.
if it is good for me, tell me why it's good for me. Those are the arguments that I want. But anyway, let's move on slightly. Right? So I want you to address one more argument,
Yes.
and then we're gonna bring it to a close. It's been a good discussion, right?
The bit that we salvaged.
So what the one argument against the rich giving to the poor, or I guess giving more to the poor, is that the rich, especially if we're talking about the super rich, have actually already contributed greatly to society, right? So, for example, let's take someone like Gates, Bezos, Musk, right? They've created things, systems, services, whatever, that have actually contributed massively to the world as a whole, right? Think about like Word, Amazon, all those things. They've given people jobs. They've allowed people to express their creativity. They've probably lifted more people out of poverty than governments, because now someone in the slums of Malawi somewhere has a PowerPoint. They can put their idea together. They have
Go
Word,
present it to an NGO and get some funding.
etc. So the argument is, actually, no, these people have actually already greatly contributed to society. Why are we asking more from them? What do you think of that argument?
With great power comes great responsibility.
Let's go to Spider-Man.
Does that not answer your question though?
Well, no, my responsibility is that I have already helped. I've already helped the world massively.
But again, that's a moral compass answer still.
My
great power.
answer.
Yeah, it's still
answer.
moral
Your argument is
compass.
My
your
singular
argument is a
answer
moral
is a
argument,
moral
and it's a fair one.
answer,
It's a
yes.
fair moral
So
argument.
I'm not gonna argue.
But
to say
But
unfortunately,
sometimes you
something
can't
else.
you can't convince someone just based on your
it's a fair moral argument, and I
we're
think
not
I think it's a
disagreeing.
moral position that we all take. But unfortunately, when it comes to morality, it's subjective.
100%.
Because
And
your
this is why
morality,
I'm saying
and
that they
therefore
should be obligated.
and therefore, yes, but then it's not a reason as to why they should be.
So if you were presenting in the House of Parliament and you're trying to get this to be passed as a law, you would have to come with points as to why this would be beneficial to the poor and to the rich. So you can't just come with because you're saying it should be
It's the
legal,
good
right?
thing to do,
You'd
guys.
have
It's
to-
a good thing to do.
Just over and over. Your Honor, it's a good thing to do. I think that's the point that
Listen,
Chin is trying to drive at.
I hear the point that you're driving at, and I hear the point that you're saying. And unfortunately, I cannot provide anything else aside from what I'm saying. So if I was standing in a House of Parliament to answer that directly, I would say that actually it is a sacrifice on your part. You are sacrificing, because of the position that you are in, regardless of how you got there. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be there. I'm not saying that you didn't work hard, sweat hard, but because you're there, yes, I'm asking you, as somebody who's got 7 billion, you can live 100,000 lives up to 100 years old, and you will never finish spending that money. I'm asking you to sacrifice some so that we can help the people at the bottom of the food chain. That is my whole argument. Now, if I liked what she said earlier, right? Talking about how we're already helping, let's say, in the system like NHS and so on and so forth. I'm not talking about handing people out to money, things like that. Things like taking money at the top, pumping them in certain services that help the less needy. Things like that. For me, those are how you go about doing it. I'm not talking about let's go. I don't want to sit here. I would love to receive money, but that's what I'm talking about.
No, nobody's talking about it. We're just talking about the general concept. How that happens would be obviously a different discussion. But we're just talking about the general concept. Listen, ladies and gents, there you have it. It's an interesting discussion, and I have a lot more points and a lot more things that I would love to touch into.
This.
But for the day,
Before you
we
close.
we know.
I don't.
We've heard
The
your
Bible
own
says.
We've heard your own argument over and over again in different word
Different
structures.
forms, right? And it's chicken. This one has been boiled.
You remind me of self-help books. Self-help books, right? It's usually one good idea or one
And then
good
it's
concept.
just flipped.
Just the same thing over and over again in like 50 chapters.
Yeah.
We get it. You got said in 2 chapters finished. But anyway. But there you have it. Listen, ladies and gents, should the rich be obligated to give to the poor? And it's interesting because let's take away the morality out of it. Can you think of any other solid, concrete arguments as to why the rich should be able to give to the poor? Let us know. I've given you a couple that people make in terms of IQ or in terms of it's better for everybody, rich and poor. But let us know if there are any more arguments that you think, or maybe you think the rich should not be obliged to give to the poor. If so, let us know, right? But
We would love to hear from a rich person as well. If you classify yourself as rich, reach out. Let us know what you think.
listen, it's good. Thank you very much for joining us off Offbeat POV. Of course, you find us on Instagram, you find us on YouTube. Do subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube. If you're listening to us on any of the audio platforms, give us a like or a rating or whatever. It helps massively. And I want to say we've got 800 plus subscribers, so we're less than 200 away from 1,000. So guys, if you haven't already subscribed, please do so. Please do so. Let's hit 1,000 before the end of December, which should be possible because you've been doing well at the moment.
But you're
send it. What?
how is it still November?
What do you mean?
No, this year has gone.
No, but
This year has
November
flown by.
has
Oh my
not.
days.
This week,
has.
the end of this week is still November.
I think that's how the rich feel.
No, I woke up and I was like,
they should help more.
I woke up and I was like, we're still in November.
Some of us are like, damn, how are we gonna afford Christmas?
Anyway, ladies and gents, like I said, find us on all those places. Do let us know. We love talking to you. We love hearing your thoughts, and we read everything at the moment because you know you know what I mean. But I do want to leave you actually with a verse from the Bible. Nick spoke about the Bible a bit. Fatani mentioned it as well, and obviously because
I love how he spoke about it and I mentioned it.
we believe because he
Even
just kept
though
banging
you
on
brought
about
it.
it.
You are the one that brought
Okay, look.
Nuances.
Offbeat POV stance is that, of course, the world would be a lot better if people just adhere to the principles of the Bible. So we are asked a lot of questions on this topic, and that's good because we love to discuss, go back and forth. But really, a lot of the answers are found in the biblical. But it's the times we live.
You said they're found in the
Listen,
biblical.
I decided to let it go.
Listen, it's the times
I
we
was
live
like,
in.
is she gonna comment or not?
It's the times we live in,
like
and
that,
here
though.
we are. But
What
so
does the biblical
I do
say?
actually
Right?
want to live with a verse today because I found one that's very fitting, and it's 1 Timothy 6, 17 to 18, which is command those who are rich in this present world not to be arrogant, nor to put their hope in wealth, which is so uncertain, but to put their hope in God, who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. Command them to do good, to be rich in good deeds, and to be generous and willing to share.
I think that's my whole
We're
argument.
talking about Christians, like I said, it's a non-starter.
I love the Bible.
we don't live in a Christian society anymore officially. It's no longer a Christian country anymore. So,